Welcome to Wine School. I'm Mike. This is Eric. Special guest today. We got the lovely Gabrielle and the lovely Susan. What's up, ladies? Yeah, we're gonna drink some Prosecco.
Wow, let's do it. Oh, this episode is brought to you by Custom Whey.
Nice. Check them out. CustomWhey.com.
Amazing.
All right. So Prosecco. Prosecco is a bubbly wine. It's similar to champagne. It's kind of like champagne, but it comes from Italy. And there's a couple of big differences between the sparkling wine that's made in Champagne and the sparkling wine that's made other places. And the first big difference is the grapes. So in Champagne, we know that they use primarily Pinot Noir and Chardonnay, but you can pretty much make sparkling wine from almost any grape. And in Italy, they make Prosecco from a handful of different grapes, but the primary one is called Glera. And so it's a little interesting, and by itself, it makes a good wine, but it also makes a phenomenally good sparkling wine. And they make Prosecco primarily in the Veneto and the Alto Adige region, sort of on the northern part of Italy, but to the east. That's where a lot of that Prosecco comes from. Kind of the whole top of Italy actually does make some Prosecco. And there's a handful of different grapes that can go into it, both whites and reds.
Okay. Wow, nice.
But a lot of times what we see is that it's made with predominance of a white grape called Glera. Anyway, so Prosecco. Some interesting things about Prosecco. Champagne is a very process-driven wine, right? And we've talked about this in wine school before.
Yes.
Prosecco is made by the Charmat method, which is radically different than the Champagne method. And so we know that when you make a sparkling wine, the key is getting bubbles into the wine. So what you got to do is you got to get a fermentation and trap the carbon dioxide from escaping. Now in Champagne, they do that in every single bottle. But there was this guy, back, I don't know, a couple hundred years, named Charmat, who found a different way of doing it. And the idea is you take a tank, a huge tank like the size of a room, and you seal it. So it's pressurized. And then you get the whole tank to ferment.
Sufficient,
And you trap the carbon dioxide in this whole tank. That's the Charmat method. Now, with Champagne, when we make Champagne in the bottle and the secondary fermentation happens in the bottle, you get those leaves, those dead yeast cells that fall to the bottom of the bottle, and the wine sits on it for years and imparts that kind of yeasty characteristic to it. Well, when you're making this in a tank that's the size of this room and 20 feet tall, everything sort of sinks to the bottom, and it hangs out at the bottom, and it doesn't really impart as much characteristics, and you don't let it sit as long.
Interesting. Okay, nice. So not as yeasty tasting.
Not as yeasty.
Bready,
Exactly. So you will get far fewer of those yeasty bready notes on a Prosecco, but what you will get is a lot of that fruit characteristic, a lot of peach, a lot of citrus, a lot of apricot, which is why they make like Bellinis, right? Bellinis is like peach and Prosecco, and you put it together and it makes a wonderful drink, right? You wouldn't make that out of a Champagne because it would taste like a peach croissant, which would be terrible, right? But I did not know that. Okay. And another different thing about Prosecco is you can make it much more quickly because you don't have to let it sit on the racks and wiggle it and riddle the.
You don't have to do wiggle anymore.
You don't have to riddle it. Yeah, exactly. It's all in this big vat. You let the vat ferment. You trap it. You pressurize the cap. The carbon dioxide can't escape, so it gets into the wine, and then you just bottle it.
Very nice.
And you're good to go.
Charmat. Is he French, Charmant? Or
Charmat.
It sounds like a French name. Is it?
I think he was of French descent.
Okay.
But I can't remember where he started producing wine by the Charmat method, but I do believe it may have been in Italy.
Okay, just curious.
So anyway,
right.
So it's Prosecco. It's very, very different. And by the way, you'll see that there's a...
Are we doing a samba? Yeah, I'm like, I'm
Prosecco,
excited to get
We're gonna samba to Prosecco.
Yeah, right before opening, I'm like, ooh, let's do it.
It's good. And you guys remember how many twists it takes to open this?
Six
It takes
twists.
six.
6 tweets.
All right. So and you also remember the easy way to open the bottle.
You
Yeah.
twist the
But
bottle and hold.
You
Yeah.
hold the cork
Hold the cork.
and twist the
the
bottle, and then it comes out nice and easy. But it's
Yes.
not as fun as just going boom and just
Letting
popping
it
it up,
fly,
right?
yeah.
Just letting it fly is way more fun. But you would never ever do
Oh my gosh.
You would never.
You would never ever do this.
We would never do such a thing at
Why
rock
would
and
we
roll
do
wine
that?
school.
No. But look at you did it without having any of the
Yes,
liquid come out.
it's
So while you're pouring
Actually
that,
quite impressive.
it's a Bisol Prosecco, Crede, amazing. This family Bisol, they've actually been growing wines for almost 500 years in this region.
Wow.
And the only exception to that is during the First World War, the Austrian-Hungarian forces were fighting the Italians basically in their backyard. But other than that, continuously for 500 years, they've been growing
This
grapes.
family.
Yeah, this family.
Wow.
And making prosecco.
Making Prosecco. They have a
Very
beautiful wine cellar that's actually excavated into the cave there that keeps this constant temperature between about 50 and 60 degrees all year round, no matter what. And that's where they store all their great vintages.
That's great.
This
Wow.
is awesome. And actually, these guys are one of the few producers that they actually do experiment a little bit with the champagne method. The
Oh,
method
they
of
do?
champenois. Yeah, they do. So
Okay.
because they're big enough and they own enough grapes and enough vines that they do make some kind of special selection stuff that
Oh,
goes through
very
the old
nice.
manual process. This, what we're drinking, is not. This is the standard Charmat method. And so we'll expect to see it's a lot more fruity and a lot less yeasty than your traditional champagnes.
I like that.
Very good. I
Now,
like
Mike,
Oh,
can,
yeah.
I, can I ask
Very
you a
good.
question?
Mhm.
So we learned about in one of the other wine schools about how champagne can be an aperitif, right? To kind
Yes.
of cleanse the palate and so
Absolutely.
on. Because Prosecco is made differently, is that affected? Do you still think this was a good aperitif?
You
or-
know, so for me, I actually believe that all of the bubbly kinds of wines
Okay.
make fantastic aperitifs. And
Right.
and I have started doing this. Like I'll go when I'm going to a restaurant to get a nice dinner.
Mm-hmm.
I'll ask them, you know, what bubbles do you have?
Mm-hmm.
And then I'll look. And my goal is to drink the best bubbles, right?
Okay.
So sometimes you'll go to a restaurant and they'll be like, oh, we have a Prosecco, we have a Champagne, we have a California sparkling wine. And I'll
Right.
look at them and I'll see what it is. Like, you know, if it's sort of and I'm not going to name names, but if it's a vintner that I know is, you know, more modestly priced, then more awesome.
Right.
You know,
Right.
I'll stray to the more awesome,
Right.
which
I think
sometimes
it's
is a
that
Prosecco.
important for you in terms of getting ready for the meal.
Yeah,
That you
exactly.
think it's that
But
critical.
but
Yeah.
all of it will work the same way.
Okay.
So it isn't
Okay.
necessarily the method of production as much as it's just this bubbly aspect to the wine somehow has an impact on the way that your nose and your mouth and your stomach all sort of
Yes.
perceive like the next thing
next
that's
thing.
coming.
Good
There's
to
also
know.
this really
Good to know, yeah.
just joyful aspect of drinking
You're right,
bubbles. I don't
it
know what it
does.
is,
Well-
but it just, you know.
It's like a
Like
celebration.
celebration,
Yeah,
yeah.
celebration. Like, you know,
Well,
Happiness.
it is funny, right?
Yeah.
Because we drink this for weddings,
weddings, yeah.
Christmas,
Any celebration,
Any
big
celebration,
celebration.
graduation.
Sunday brunch.
Sunday brunch,
Sunday brunch because it's
Yeah.
Sunday.
Tuesday
Why
breakfast.
not? Yeah.
Why not?
You just suck it
Thursday-
down for
Thursday
a
lunch.
second. Thursday lunch, whatever, whatever you got going on.
Whatever.
Yeah, any kind of celebration, so that's
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, anything with bubbles. So I went from a guy who just never drank bubbles
Oh.
ever to like exploring the different types of bubbles. And what I found is there's some Proseccos I really, really like. There's some champagnes I really, really like. There's some stuff I don't really, really like. And it's been a cool journey to go down. So
Well, I don't think men should be afraid of bubbles either. I feel like men are a little afraid of the bubbles, and they need to, you know, not be afraid. Or
Well,
be
so-
more-
I've always been a big
right?
fan of bubble baths myself.
bubble baths
Yeah.
are amazing.
but,
I
but
agree.
imagine
Yeah.
Stallone
know.
or Jason Statham
Like,
walking
well,
into the
I
bar
Trade
going,
the bubbles.
"Give me some
We need to change-
Prosecco."
We need to change that, right?
Right?
It's all about perception.
It is all about perception,
You know?
and bubbles are
Yeah.
awesome.
Well-
Now, but I don't know that I would drink as many bubbles with a dinner. Like
Of course
before
not.
dinner has
Yeah.
been
Have a glass
fantastic.
and be done. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Yep.
And
for sure.
and
So after Stallone watches this video, he will be there.
Yeah, hopefully. Here's
Jason Statham, I'm calling
like,
you
I
out.
want a
Drink more
Prosecco.
drink
Prosecco.
more
The
bubbles.
Prosecco.
Rock and Roll Wine School demands it. One additional thing I do want to talk about is the glass. And so a lot of times when you get served the bubbly wines are in the tall flutes or the little short, shallow coupes. I don't like either of those because the really narrow flutes, like they really constrict the flavors of the wine from the nose. And the short, shallow ones, it just sort of like everything goes in the air and it's gone. So I actually prefer to drink the bubbles in more of a white wine glass, and I'll tell this if I go to a restaurant. I'll be like, yeah, put it in a white wine glass. Don't put it in a flute. And they'll be like, what? Just do what I want.
Yeah.
It's rock and roll wine school. Just put the shit in the glass.
Just say yes.
Yeah.
Just say
So that's something if you do this, you can really get a little bit
Makes
more.
sense. Yeah.
And when you do it, like put your nose there, you can smell the peach. I mean, this has got peach for days.
It's
And,
like peach,
Yes.
lime, green apple.
yeah, it's
green
really-
apple. Yeah, green
Yeah.
apple.
Yeah.
I actually
you're
get a
right.
little bit of apricot on this as well. It's very
Oh
fruity.
yeah.
Yeah,
very
there's
delightful.
apricot, apple, green apple, and peach. Yeah.
But not a lot of that yeasty, bready, croissanty stuff that we would expect to see with the champagne.
Right. I actually prefer this, I think, over champagne.
You think?
Myself, personally.
Yeah.
That's just me.
I'd say there's a
But-
hint of
Me
grapefruit in there
I
too.
like this.
Mm.
This is good. It's less fermented.
Now I'm going looking for grape. I think it's pink grapefruit.
Pink
If I had-
grapefruit.
If I had to put a
Pink
qualifier on it.
Well, that's a
Very
douchey way of putting it.
That is
It's
Well, they have to differentiate the grapefruit.
overripe pink grapefruit from the law.
Oh my
Overripe
God.
pink grapefruit peels
Here.
even.
Go to the specifics.
Overripe pink grapefruit zest. That's what I get on it.
You know what? That's all right.
Anyway,
Well done.
so that's Prosecco. It's
Awesome.
awesome. It's
love
it's a
it.
great
Love
alternative to champagne, but it's
Yes.
very, very different from champagne, but awesome in its own right.
delicious.
I agree. Yeah.
So check it out. Anyway, Gabriella,
Let's go, Johnny Clayton, Black Girl. Woohoo!
30 seconds of craziness coming at you.
Right.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers.
Cheers. Cheers.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah. Walking down the beach with a hand in my hand. We look at each other as we walk through the sand. Not a care. No, not a care, yeah. And then the heads do turn and the eyes do stare. She looks at everybody, then she gives me a glare. But I don't care. No, I don't care. So I say, black girl, you rock my world. Oh yeah. And yellow girl, I'll give you diamonds and pearls. Oh my, and white girl, you're on my mind. Yeah, and brown girl, you're one of a kind. Now I don't give a damn what the